This is the setup. I mean, I know I'm
Good
walking
afternoon,
into
Earth.
one,
This is
so
Adam
I'm
Sturch
ready for it.
broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion,
She's ready for it too.
Taos, New Mexico. Working on oil painting spring on Pluto. Okay, today I'm going to take a real simple yellow glaze 50/50 cadmium light and lemon and put a glow on this planet here, and then play with some reflected light with that same color across the surface of the foreground portrait. And then I've got a compass circle drawn in on each eye, and I'm going to start developing a shape on the left eye, the larger eye on the right side, with a sort of God's eye string pattern that I used with awe that I've seen before in psychedelic experiences. That's very interesting. Just a sort of a
I didn't say that.
geometric floral sort of design. That's just going to be fun to branch out some of the detail in the foreground. But this step's going to be real simple, so here we go.
A psychedelic guru can be a safe guarantee of a good trip, of a spiritually enlightening trip. And I would ask you, in view of Baba's statement that only a person on the fifth plane, and most of us are not even on the plane, let alone staying in any relation to the inner planes of consciousness, only a person on the fifth plane can safely, without harm to himself or harm to the person that he is supposedly helping, do any good whatsoever in a spiritual way.
Would you ask your question, please?
I want to know what you think of this statement.
Okay.
Do you think you are helping people when you are being a psychedelic guru? Do you think that you are not harming your own spiritual progress?
Thank you, Paula. I'd like to tell you a brief story. One of the things one does as one works with psychedelic chemicals is one continually looks for maps and charts to help you understand more of what you're experiencing. Now, in the course of our searches, a number of us independently have come across the works of an Eastern mystic by the name of Meher Baba. And I found when I read his works, called Listen to Humanity, God Speaks, so on, which are available from Sufism Reoriented on Sutter Street, I found that these were most in tune with my own psychedelic experiences. That his descriptions of other levels of consciousness fit in almost identically with my own experiences. And that he also apparently was referring to a lot of things which were experiences I had not shared. And so I used his books as a manual in session. And then, from an old graduate assistant of mine, I got a message that Meher Baba had met a young fellow in India who had said to him, you've got to stop taking drugs. And I said what most people say under these circumstances. Well, he told that young fellow, he didn't tell me. Then came the second message from India, which was telling the young fellow to tell everybody. So I was quite bothered by this, so I wrote this man a letter. Now, not meaning to say anything inappropriate, this man is an avatar who says, in effect, I am God in human form, and it's very difficult to write a letter to such a person. But I wrote as honest a letter as I could, and I explained to him what I was doing and how I was using the psychedelic. And he wrote back, or his secretary wrote back, one of the most sophisticated letters concerning drugs I had ever received, in which he said, in effect, the experiences you're having are illusory. They are no more like true transcendence than a mirage is like water. Then, he said, to a few serious spiritual seekers like yourself, LSD may have started you on something, but it can do you no more good. And what you must do now is follow me. Love me enough and I will take you through, because you need a perfect master to get to the seventh plane. Then he said, you may take LSD 3 more times, and then you must stop forever.
Yeah, Ramdas was a little more measured than Terrence and the
Well,
Green
between the
Dragon.
time I sent the letter and the time I received the answer, I had taken it once, so that left me either 2 or 3, depending on how you counted. And I started to wrestle with the problem. After all, I'm supposedly sort of in the LSD business in one way or another. I mean, I'm not pushing it, but I certainly am talking about it and thinking about it and build systems about it. And
God incarnate?
so I didn't answer his letter, and I got a wire, did you receive my letter? And I sent a wire back that I received his letter.
The mushroom may very well be God incarnate.
And I continue to wrestle in my own mind with this issue. Now, in the past week, I have been, I have received, I think, 3 special delivery communications strongly urging me to be wise enough at this conference to present Baba's views and to espouse them. Now, it's very easy to take a reasonably easy way out and say, in effect, well, this guy probably never had LSD. Now, how does he really know? Okay? Except that the letters are very sophisticated. He said, look, I understand the difference between the psychedelics and the opiates. Okay? He's not. And he says, what you get addicted to is the experience, not the drug. But you keep depending on it. And then he instructed a number of his followers in the East and West to set out on a pilgrimage to stop the use of drugs in the United States. Now, up until this point, all of the writings I had ever read of Mayor Baba said, in effect, don't worry, be happy. Take it easy, it's all happening, okay. Love is the way. And now suddenly are coming special delivery directives about not doing things, about derangement. Now, my policy under these situations is to look within myself. And I have been doing that as intensively as I know how. I have indeed, Paula, not taken LSD since February 14th. And it just doesn't feel right to me, what he said. And it is not in line with my own experiences. And I am not a person of blind faith. And therefore, in being honest to my own experiences, illusory though they may turn out to be, I must take the position I am taking, because psychedelics indeed took me from being a very limited, very somewhat mechanical Western man, and opened my eyes enough so that I could even read Mayababa without stopping it. Look, evidence. And the flaw in his letter was saying, a few souls like you. Well, who else? Question, please.
comment about SOCO and where people may dig in.
SOCO is a non-geographical insemination-dissemination organization, which has its sole existence in Box 309 at Menlo Park. And if you advise them of your address, a lengthy bibliography on consciousness expansion comes your way, along with all of the other things that interest us, along with pictures of Shiva Shaktis and mandalas and stuff like that. It's I realize that all we could hope for as a social institution at this point, you see, I went to Los Angeles and gave some lectures, and there were like 1,000 people there, and then I sent out a questionnaire, said if you want to fill it out, send it in, and hundreds of these questionnaires came back of people saying, let's all collaborate in setting up something humanly beautiful to do. And I looked and I looked and I looked, and I realized that the heterogeneity of all of us, because many of us never took psychedelics, but arrived at the states of consciousness through many other means, that there wasn't any single game we could work at. And we are at the moment, the best thing we could do was set up some kind of a nervous system, which is a mailing list, if you will. And so I just started to offer Box 309 and have been every month or 2 months sending out a mailing as fast as I could afford it. And there are now 8,000 people on the West Coast who are us, whoever we are. And it's a constant stream of the most beautiful letters from a tremendously wide range of people with diverse interests. That's what SOCO is. Box 309, Menlo Park.
And do you have any comments about turning on without drugs? I've only turned on once without, but several times with, and it wasn't a dream, but it began in a dream state at the very end of the morning sleep, and I haven't been able to replicate that sort of experience since. And I'm wondering whether you know anybody that has, or what steps have been made in this direction.
Well, the question concerns turning on without drugs. Abe Maslow's book, whether you're familiar with it or not, or his work, he is concerned with peak experiences. And he points out that most people have had these experiences at one time or another spontaneously, but weren't able to label them, all right? And as you read through his accounts, you find a number of settings that are indeed settings that seem to precipitate these. Now, if you argue that what you mean by turn on is a chemical alteration of the brain, that there is clear evidence that the mystic visionaries and the psychedelic visionaries and the diet visionaries and so on were having some common core spiritual experience. So there was some common chemical alteration occurring to all of them. Then you notice that this chemical alteration can be brought about either from the body through the endocrine system or from the cerebral cortex downward, if you will. Then you see that by using, for example, a mantra, repeating some phrase. For example, just one of the little things in Paul Repp's Zen Flesh and Bones in the back of it, like just sit down and get into a very comfortable position, candle, very quiet, or outside, and say, let me slowly turn off my senses, look within, and find my own true self, or my own calm center, or something. And just keep simplifying and simplifying. It's a repeated mantra that will take you there. Now, there are also any number of external environmental things like mandalas or various settings or scenes that will do it. You working from your body, it is possible clearly through diet. It's clearly possible through a number of kinds of physical yoga, breathing, for example. But what I was pointing out in that community concern is that there have been times when I've been living in a community when I can come home to this place, hung up, caught, busy being Dick Alpert, angry and power, all my games, walk in and I become high when I walk in the door. Right? And I used to measure houses and say, well, that's about a 75 microgram house.
Would you compare and contrast subjectively psilocybin and LSD?
Contrast psilocybin and LSD.
Subjectively.
Subjectively. Well, that's a little hard for me to do accurately because all my psilocybin experiences were predominantly before my LSD experiences, and I haven't had psilocybin available to me for a long time. The best I can say at the moment is that, and furthermore, it has. Okay, all right. Okay. When we were taking psilocybin, we were using dosages anywhere from 2 to 20 milligrams and 26 milligrams, something like that. Now, as I understand it, a comparable dose to 200 micrograms of LSD might be anywhere about 60 milligrams instead of the smaller dosage. So that I don't know that I have comparable data. The experience I had with psilocybin, almost all the experiences were of the, if you define a ladder of experiences, let me give you a quick ladder and then I can show you where it is on the ladder. The most probable experience people report is heightened sensitivity, color, kinesthesis, sound, and so on. And that's a very easy thing to experience. And external hallucinations, the walls creeping and crawling and so on. Then the next level of experience is, when it's a social situation, is feeling that, seeing the other person with figure, ground, reverse. That is, the ways in which we are different becomes background, and the ways in which we are same becomes figure. And that's quite different from the way most of us live every day, where the way in which we're the same is background, and the figure stands out as individual differences, especially among Westerners. Now, under that condition, there is still a you and a me. It's just that we see that you and me are made of the same thing, all right? And we say, wow, you and I are one, but I still see you as you and I as I. Now, it's the next level after that where all that starts to disintegrate, where your body starts to fall apart, and it all starts to turn into energy, for example. Or other levels where it becomes unity in the perceptual sense as well, and the you-ness disappears. Now, as far as I know, most of my psilocybin, or I say most of my psilocybin experiences, were at the level where one experienced that social unity, tremendous closeness to other people, tremendous, we used to call it the love drug, because it just made people so close and in one, and just human love heaps, in the most beautiful sense of the word. All right? And that was psilocybin. Then along came LSD and just blew our minds, you know. It was a whole other level, because the LSD then became a very, it was not social. It was not a social drug. It was too profound. It just took you way beyond that. It was all molecules or all energy. And many people have had a great deal of difficulty trying to use LSD as a social drug. Let's take a little LSD and have a groovy evening. Well, now, if you're going to do that, don't do it because it's illegal, but if, hypothetically...
All right, I think that's it for the moment. I really just wanted to amp up the yellow tones and get some more glaze work happening. Get the circles set for what will develop around as the geometric floral iris pattern extending out into the rest of the composition. But for the moment, we're going to let that set up and see where it goes from here. Thank you for watching. It's Adam Sturch broadcasting from the Mushroom Mansion, Taos, New Mexico, working on oil painting Spring on Pluto. And in the background there, for anybody interested in listening, that is Ram Dass's, oh dear, what's the name of that title? The Art of Conscious Living. LSD and the Art of Conscious Living. It's on my YouTube channel under my Ram Dass list. That's very interesting. It's very old. I think it was in '68. And
it was quite an experience because
some of the perspectives since the modern research have kind of flip-flopped, but it's still a fascinating lecture, especially to hear early Ram Dass. But anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good night, Earth.